All right, hello everyone. We'll get right into it. Sorry that I cannot show my face. My camera is not working, so a screen recording will do for now. And so we'll start off. Yeah, this microbe I created, it's called Aurum remidium. And that is just Latin for gold remedy. And so I'll get into that definition a little bit later and why it's called that. But basically, this microbe is named Aurum remidium because of how it potentially cures cancer. So um, it's beneficial to the human body and can potentially eradicate all cancer cells while causing no harm to the host. And so this is all based off of Otto Warburg's work and the Warburg effect for cancer cells. But I'll give a little bit of background information on this process. So as we learned in class, muscle and some bacteria cells can utilize this metabolic process called fermentation, which is the incomplete oxidation of glucose, which is converted into lactate or lactic acid. It's a pretty inefficient process and produces only 2 ATP. But this is based off the work of Otto Warburg, who defined cancer as a metabolic problem back in the 1920s. So since then, we discovered that cancer cells strictly utilize this fermentation process as their main metabolic pathway, which is also known as the Warburg effect. And so then he was later awarded, Otto Warburg was the Nobel Prize in 1931 for his contributions in regards to cellular respiration and metabolism. And so this bacteria deems itself helpful because if cancer cells use fermentation, which is the uptake of glucose, they also replicate much faster in an uncontrolled manner. It's found that in the Warburg effect, the process of glucose, turning glucose to lactate, is up to 100 times faster than the normal TCA cycle, resulting in around the same ATP production over the same time. And so Aurum remidium is beneficial because of how it interacts with cancer. So this bacterium blocks a certain metabolic pathway that all cancer cells use. And so since all cancer cells use fermentation, glucose is their primary fuel source. And so this bacterium uses chemotaxis to detect lactate, which is produced by cancer cells. It's a byproduct. And so once it finds its way to the site of the issue, the acidic presence, it reaches an acidic threshold for the bacterium, which goes through the membrane, outer membrane, cell membrane, and the bacterium lyses and releases large amounts of exotoxin, which this specific exotoxin blocks the rapid uptake of glucose. So it blocks insulin receptors, and so the cancer cells can't uptake glucose, leaving them without fuel to metabolize. And so this gram-negative bacterium resides in the oral cavity of golden retrievers. Very interesting. It was discovered pretty recently in 2018, and scientists are still not sure how it came to be or why it's in the mouths of golden retrievers, but that's what it is, and that's why it's called Aurum remidium, which means the gold remedy. And so it's transmitted through open wounds and direct contact, and so usually through an open wound, and then a golden retriever that has the bacteria licks the wound, and it transfers bacterium into the cardiovascular system, into the bloodstream, and then it's able to detect lactate and interact with cancer cells, as I explained. And so, yeah, this causes the inhibition of cancer cells to utilize glucose and metabolize fuel. And so some features, key features on this bacterium, we have some flagella for motility, we got pili for conjugation, fimbriae, we have an outer membrane cell wall, cytoplasmic membrane, and also inclusion bodies that are able to carry extra food in case it's in a scarce environment. And so the energy and metabolism, it's a facultative anaerobe, so it can use aerobic and anaerobic respiration, and it's also a mesophile, which means it resides mainly in the human environment, the human body environment. And so, but it can also use lipids and fats as fuel source, but its main one is glucose. And then it shows exponential growth through binary fission. And so it contains 4.5 million base pairs, single-stranded DNA, and it can do horizontal gene transfer as well as vertical, which is also very interesting. And so, yes, the exotoxin this bacteria releases is called BICE, and so this is the exotoxin that interacts with the insulin receptors on cancer cells. And so it is able to evade the immune system pretty well. So it's really goes undetected by mutating PAMPs. So it releases an enzyme that helps PAMPs evade the PRR receptors, so B and T cells can't really recognize this. It also mimics a host cell molecule, hemoglobin, that the host immune system would not attack. And then it's also not recognized by macrophages because macrophages typically reside at tissue locations. It's able to be in the bloodstream for most of the time. And so, yes, as this is a unique and hopefully beneficial bacteria found in the oral cavities of golden retrievers, it seems that Aurum remidium is a beneficial bacteria for cancer inhibition and recovery. Thanks for watching, guys.